Right, hi there everybody. A little video to talk you through the lesson that you're completing for me today then please. And the way this is set up as a reminder is I want you to be watching this video and then pausing it at the different moments after I've explained the task and actually completing it before you then press pause again. So this isn't one of those where you're just going to watch it all the way through and then head off for an hour on your own with the lesson. Work through it, use my explanations for each little section and then complete that section before we then move on, okay? So we are revising, as it might give you a clue on the top there. We're looking at Kamikaze, which is one you've revisited quite recently, one of the poems from the anthology that you'll study for your GCSE. But what we're going to do today is focus on a little bit on how she's used colour and then try and build that idea of colour vocabulary back into our own writing. So this will feel a little bit familiar because we have done it a bit earlier in the year, although it is a different lesson to the one that you've done before as well. So what I'm going to say is I want to give you 10 minutes then please for this first activity, and you want to give yourself 10 minutes, so make sure you've got eyes on a clock somewhere. You're going to copy each of those 5 quotes from the screen there, and then I'm asking you to explode them and explain why you think Garland has used the colour that she has on each of those. So for example, what I'm looking for is, let's say the bullet point number 1, you copy down a green-blue translucent sea, and then what I'm asking you to do is maybe have at least 2 arrows coming off of that quote. So let's look at the idea of translucent first. So it sounds very pure, very clean, so you could write the words pure and clean coming off of that, and green-blue. So you've got positive connotations. You could go with the word tropical. I'd maybe have writing coming off of that one. So those are the sorts of things you could do for that first one. As I say, I'm looking for at least 2, but maybe 3 different suggestions, connotations for the quotes. The next one down then, the dark shoals of fishes and the idea of silver. So what's the tone of that quote? Think about that. You've got built cairns of pearl grey pebbles. So again, think about the pearl grey and think about maybe how grey links to what a cairn is. Black crabs is maybe just associations with black there particularly. And finally, the loose silver. And again, the idea of silver, what are the connotations of that? So pause this slide now for me, please. I'm going to go quiet for a few seconds and have a go for 10 minutes. Over to you. Right then, moving on then, that was task number 1. Here's task number 2 then. What we're going to do is try and use some of the vocabulary from the poem in your own writing, which is what you see on the screen right now. So in the 2 boxes, you've got 2 pictures linked with it. One is a very calm looking tropical scene, and the one on the right obviously is a very, very turbulent scene with crashing waves. And the words in the green box there, sunrise, incantations, etc., are all from Kamikaze, as are the ones in the blue box, powerful, dark, flashing, and so forth. So as it says, write me a paragraph about each of the beaches. So yes, I want you to do both, using words from the poem. And what you want to think about as you're writing is, what sort of mood are you trying to create using the words from that box for the palm tree picture, and then what sort of tone are you going to create? Obviously one is going to be very calm and tranquil, one is going to be very turbulent, dangerous, threatening. So I'm going to go quiet again for 5 seconds, and again, give yourself 10 minutes to have a go at this activity. Over to you. Thank you. Right, obviously I'll be looking through all of this a little bit later on Show My Homework. Now, we're not going to actually do this physically, but this is just a reminder that at the start of the year, this was earlier in year 10, I think it was about October time, we stuck this spectrum into your books and then around it wrote a whole variety of colours. And then I'd have a quick think about where you would put emerald, fuchsia, azure, amethyst and graphite onto that spectrum. Have a little look. Where do you think? Do you know those ones? Because obviously I'm going to go through them in a second. The reveal would be that they are something like that. Graphite is one that wouldn't fit on there, but graphite is very grey. Comes from the idea of carbon. In pencils you get graphite as well. Amethyst is a gemstone, very precious, very beautiful, so that's that darker purple. Azure is almost slightly off colour of a beautiful clear sky, but nevertheless it's something you often associate with clear skies. Fuchsia is a flower and it's a very beautiful pink, and then emerald again, a precious mineral, a gemstone which is dark green. So just putting those into your head really, but a reminder of how colour is really key to your writing and how it can really add a tone. So with that idea in mind then, I just want to read through this extract quickly on here and ask you about how this author uses colour. Now this is quite a challenging piece of text. There will be vocabulary in there you're not completely familiar with, but just try and think about, as you read through it, what sort of tone are they creating? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it sinister? Is it light-hearted? What is it? So here we go. The lucidity, the clarity of the light that afternoon was sufficient to itself. Perfect transparency must be impenetrable. These vertical bars of a brass-coloured distillation of light coming down from sulphur-yellow interstices in a sky hunkered with grey clouds that bulge with more rain. It struck the wood with nicotine-stained fingers. The leaves glittered. A cold day of late October, when the withered blackberries dangled like their own dour spooks on the discoloured brambles. The clearing was cluttered with dead leaves, some the colour of honey, some the colour of cinders, with the colour of earth. The brown light at the end of the day drained into the moist, heavy earth, all silent, all still, and the cool smell of night coming. Now, what I'd like to draw your attention to quickly there, like the second paragraph, for example, you've got the contrast of honey, generally quite a sweet, positive connotation, with the colour of cinders. Cinders are another sort of word linked with ashes and the leftovers of a fire. So you've got something which is obviously very negative associations. You don't literally just have to choose objects like blood red, for example. You can actually think about other things like those. Nicotine-stained fingers is a great description. Nicotine is is what you find in cigarettes, as many of you will know, and people who smoke for years and years, generally it does stain their fingers a yellowy colour. And you've also got the sulphur yellow word there as well. So it's not just choosing something which is the same colour as what you want to describe. It's actually trying to think about the connotations of that object. So that was a demonstration. Now what you're going to do here is these aerial views you can see. So top left, Eden Project. Bottom left, that's Central Park in New York. Top right, I'm pretty certain it's Newcastle. Which is the northeast, and bottom right I don't know exactly. I mean, to me it looks like somewhere like Alaska or Norway, but very, very beautiful. What I want you to do, everybody, is write me now 2 sentences, but you're really focusing on your use of colour to create a tone in those images. So for example, top right, I think you've got some very dark blues, but you're not going to describe it in a very positive way. To me, I'd almost think about how the city is cluttered and lonely and isolated in the night time, whereas bottom right, you've also got blues, but of course it's a very different sort of blue you've got going on there. Very pure, clear, cool types of blue, but maybe you could give it negative associations, but that is entirely up to you. You need to decide what are you trying to create with your use of colour. Don't just start writing the colours and then think of the tone. It needs to be the other way round in order to become a successful writer. So I'm going to go quiet for a few seconds again. It's 2 sentences per image. I think that's going to take you about 15 minutes, but I want to see you have a good go at this, please, because this is an important step into our final activity. Okay, over to you. There we go. Right, talking of that then, this is a guide which you will find on Show My Homework, which you're going to need to use. Now, I'm not asking you to write me in a moment a full 15-minute piece of writing which flows from sentence to sentence. The next activity is about experimentation and about you trying things out. So on the slide you see here, ignore the picture in the middle, but what you have around it are a whole range of different things I'm asking you to try out. Some of them will be familiar to you way back since primary school, like you've got the more sentence and description detail, and other ones that you might recognise, and yet there's more secondary ones as well, like the anaphora and the polysyndeton next to that one as well. What I'm asking you to do, if I flick forward, there they are again, is choose one of the 4 pictures that you just wrote about, and I want you to try and experiment with a variety of sentences that describe it. This should appear like 15 minutes worth of work. Therefore, what I'm asking you to do is I want you to use at least 8 of these different sentence starters, please. That's how I'm measuring your success. So one more time, you might choose the more sentence, and you are, let's say you've chosen the Central Park one. The more I looked around, the more I was struck with the beauty of the colours. There you go, I've done a more sentence. Next one, I might do my double adjective sentence. The sky was crystal azure, spanning across above our heads. Now, it's not perfect, but you get the idea. I've just done my 2 adjective sentence. So that's what I'm asking you to do. And what I'd like you to do next to it is like you'd write double adjective starter, and then you'd put equals, and then write the sentence that uses the double adjective starter next to it. so I can see in your work what you've been up to. And that is the main thing. I anticipate that's going to take you about 15 minutes. I don't want you just to rush through it and do a really bad job. Really looking to see quality work going on here, please, Year 10. And otherwise, you can always email me if there's any problems, and the slides again are on Show My Homework. But yeah, very much looking forward to seeing you experimenting with your creative writing, please. Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye for now.